This video was brought to you by our brand new channel, TLDR Business. Subscribe by clicking the link in the description.
In the past few weeks, the president has had quite the polling renaissance, rising from a historic low average of 37.7% approval rating to hovering at around 43%, putting himself ahead of some of his predecessors. What makes this rise truly remarkable is the fact that usually the opposite happens, with many presidents experiencing a downturn or at best a plateau heading into the midterms. So in this video, we're going to be looking at these three things. First, what's driving Biden's rise? Second, is it sustainable? And third, how might it improve Democrats' chances come November? So let's start by explaining why this surge is happening. To be honest, it's not particularly complicated. Biden simply had a pretty good August. On top of passing the Inflation Reduction Act, Biden signed the PACT Act, which sought to provide healthcare services to veterans affected by burns pits, as well as forgiving $10,000 to $20,000 in student loans for those making less than $125,000. As well as being generally popular policies, they also made Biden look like he could actually get stuff done. Previously, Biden had looked a bit impotent, unable to garner bipartisan support, and often stymied by so-called moderate Democrats like Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. This seems to have significant effect on important voting demographics for Democrats like African Americans, Hispanics, and independents. African Americans and Hispanics, for example, support the debt cancellation 88% to 12% and 68% to 32% respectively, and independent approval of Biden increases by 9 points from July to August, according to Gallup. Another big one is the reduction of gas prices, which have been going down consistently over the last 2.5 months. Now, obviously, this isn't all down to Biden. Oil and gas prices are mostly determined by global economic factors. But it has undermined the GOP's claim that Biden's policies were pushing up gas prices. It's a similar story with inflation, which, while still very high by historic standards, when measured year on year, has recently begun to plateau. Again, while the current bout of inflation has been mostly driven by global factors, so we can't give Biden too much credit here, the recent plateau undermines the GOP talking point that Biden's fiscal recklessness has pushed up inflation. The GOP has also been on the defense recently regarding both its position on abortion as well as recently the FBI search on Donald Trump's residence. This has, predictably, shifted the attention away from Biden and towards the Republicans, boosting his popularity. So, on to the second part of this video. Is this sustainable? Are there more things Biden can do to keep his popularity ticking up? Or is this just a one-off caused by a happy coincidence of falling global oil prices and a rare showing of goodwill from Manchin and Sinema? Well, fortunately for Biden, inflation does seem to be stabilizing, and Republicans are continuing to take more extreme but less popular positions, which provide easy pickings for the Democrats. Take, for example, Biden's efforts to codify abortion rights in federal law. This is a popular policy, but Republicans, both for ideological and political reasons, have pushed back against it. Assuming Republicans continue to take up unpopular positions, which is very possible, then Biden might well have enough ammo to sustain his polling bounce. Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has already said that he plans to put the issue of gay marriage, along with the $35 insulin price cap that Republicans voted down in August, to a vote on the Senate floor after summer recess. Both of these are very popular with the public. 71% of Americans support gay marriage, while 88% support capping insulin at $35 a month, including a majority of Republicans. And this puts Republicans in a tough spot. If a sizable fraction of congressional Republicans oppose either measure, which seems likely, Biden can just run through the same script that he did with abortion rights, painting Republicans as a load of misaligned extremists. Even if Republicans don't slip up, Biden has some other popular policies available to him. Some, including Democratic Senate nominee from Pennsylvania John Fetterman, have suggested that Biden use his executive authority to decriminalize marijuana. Hypothetically, under the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, Biden could direct the DEA to move marijuana off the Schedule I substance list and effectively render arrest regarding marijuana possession unenforceable. This might be legally questionable, but it would still be popular. 68% of the country supports legalization, and 66% support recreational use of weed. The point we're making is that Republicans have taken some pretty unpopular positions. So, on to the last part of this video. Will this polling bounce be enough for the Democrats to retain the US House and Senate? Well, to be honest, no one really knows, because the polling is just all over the place. While headline polling suggests it's unlikely, while Democrats have a slight edge in the Senate, 538 currently gives Republicans a 75% chance of winning the House. Since the Hobbs decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, Democrats and Democratic causes have overperformed massively in elections. Kansas, for example, voted in favour of abortion rights by a decent margin, and Democrat Pat Ryan defeated Republican Mark Molinaro in New York's 19th district, even though polling showed Ryan down by 8 points on election day. Most surprising, however, is the recent House special election in Alaska, triggered by the death of Congressman Don Young in March 2022. Democrat Amy Peltola defeated Mark Begich III and former Governor Sarah Palin on a ranked choice voting ballot, giving Alaska its first Democratic representative in nearly 50 years. That a Democrat won a state that voted for Donald Trump by 10 points in 2020 in a supposed red wave year might give Democrats some hope. All in all, Biden has had a pretty good August, with the Inflation Reduction Act, PACT Act, student debt cancellation, and the continued backlash against the Hobbs decision, favouring himself and the Democrats. Ultimately, however, the polling is still too close to call, and it's of course always possible that some outside crisis, a second wave of inflation, a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, or some Biden-related gaffe, could still torpedo the Democrats' midterm hopes. Nonetheless, while Republicans have long been the bookies' favourites, Democrats have been closing the gap, and all of a sudden, this race is looking far more interesting. And if you're interested in American politics, there's a good chance you'll be interested in American businesses. And you're in luck. Last week, we've launched a brand new TLDR channel all about business and how it interacts with politics, people, and society. We have 5 videos on the channel at the moment, including a deep dive into if TikTok is a Chinese propaganda tool and if Trump was right to ban them, a video on Apple's huge revenue and how it spends its $200 billion bank balance, and one on the secret economics of porn, where we find out about the 2 household names who control the whole industry. And there's so much more to come, so head over to the channel, check out those videos, and subscribe to TLDR Business.